Hi, welcome back. If you are new to my channel, my name is Natasha. I'm a homeschooling mom of two girls, ages 9 and 5, and we are going into our 4th year of homeschooling. So in the past, I've shared what kind of curriculum we are doing. You can go back and check it out. We are basing most of our homeschooling style on what's called the classical model of homeschooling. And we do sort of take a bit of an eclectic approach and combine many different types of things. I don't want to take too long into going into that. You can go back and take a look at previous videos that I've had explaining all of that. But today's video, I wanted to be able to just share with you what we have done in terms of curriculum this past year and share our hits and misses. I've really enjoyed other homeschooling channels and sharing their curriculum choices and what they've liked and didn't like. And it's really helped me open my eyes to some new ideas and ways that I can kind of expand and add new and exciting ways of teaching my kids in our homeschool. So without further delay, let's get into it. So I'm going to first divide the hits and misses for my pre-K student and then my grade 3 student, who are this year going into kindergarten and grade 4. Now in Canada, we would call the pre-K junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten. So my daughter's going into senior kindergarten this September, and my older daughter will be going into grade 4. So let me show you our hits and misses for this past year, starting with my pre-K student. So my pre-K student is a little bit more of a hesitant learner. She wasn't as keen. She is excited about doing school, but she wasn't moving along as quickly, grasping reading and things like that as my older daughter. Now with math, I really should have moved her along even faster. We have moved into next year's curriculum already. She breezes through that. She is reading well, but my older daughter was an advanced reader, and so we kind of skipped over some grade stages for my older daughter. For my younger daughter, we were doing the Good and the Beautiful's kindergarten prep. We did this for the pre-K. So this is kindergarten level, and she really grasped it really well. She found it fun. She enjoyed it. So I guess that's what the most I expected out of it. I mean, she's gotten a firm grasp on letter recognition. This also did numbers, letters, and some other things like that, printing. So she's grasped all that, and it worked for her in that sense. In terms of being thoroughly, it's quite short, as you can see. I think for how we do our homeschool, I might have preferred it going a little bit more, if you could even say in depth, or more repetition, repeating letters, reviewing things a bit maybe more often rather than kind of just doing it the one time and moving on. But it had lots of fun games and things that she really found interactive, like Swat the Fly. She really loved that game where we had letter cutouts with a fly. We laid them all out on the floor. She had a fly swatter, and she would find the letters and swat the flies. Or letter cubes where we'd throw them up in the air, and whatever side faced up, she had to say what letter it was, and things like that, which comes along with this package. So I am overall happy with it. It was definitely a hit. She enjoyed it. It was fun. I just think that she could have moved along a little bit faster, and so I think if anything, we could have gone through the book faster. I was doing it 3 days a week with her. We probably could have just gone through it faster and advanced her onto next year's level, which we have moved on to already. So this was definitely a hit. Along with that, we did the Good and the Beautiful's writing. So I started with the pre-writing because she's a left-handed. It's a little tricky for me to try to teach her, to try to figure out, is this really the right way to hold the paper, to hold the pencil? And so she really got a hang of it. She's now knowing how to hold the pencil properly, and she is able now to follow the lines. You know, at the beginning, you could see she might have had a trickier time following the lines really carefully, but by the end, she really was doing quite well. That's the pre-K doodling. In the level K, she was starting to get an easier time tracing the letters. And she's now writing independently her name and starting to spell some words out and writing those. Like she'll ask me to how to spell something and she'll write them all out, and she likes to write letters to people and cards. She loves making cards. So she's now enjoying doing that, whereas before I had to kind of push her to do it and to hold the pencil properly and all of that. So Good and the Beautiful really is a good, easy curriculum to start a hesitant learner on in the beginning stages of, pre-K and K. For reading, I love the Well-Trained Minds, The Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Your Child Reading. It's wonderful. As you can see, we're not quite done. We're not even close to being done, but we are going through it very slowly, and she's getting it. And she's reading to me and sounding it all out. Now, she is not fluently reading on her own. I still have to remind her, what does the letter H say? What does the letter A say? What does the letter T say? Now put it together. Hat. But she is able to figure out those letters and put them together and make the words. If you're not familiar with this curriculum, it's a scripted 1 page, 1 lesson, where the teacher just says something and the child repeats it. And then, so I didn't really do this with my older daughter because she was reading too well to do it, but I might first read the words here. Ham, jam, it's backwards for you, so you probably can't see that. Pam and Sam. Then we read the words together, ham, Pam, jam, and Sam. And then she has to read them herself. So it's a lot of repetition, and it's just a 1 page lesson each page. It's simple, it's quick, and it's effective. And then for fun reading, we do this together. She will read these Bob books to me. And this is the beginner set 1. And we're still reading it. She gets it. But it's fun because it encourages her, because she's able to read these to me all on her own. So it gives her the encouragement that she can tell people, I can read. So we haven't moved on yet because she isn't picking up reading as fast as my older daughter, but she's reading. And she started reading this way when she was 4. She only just turned 5. So in my books, she's doing very well. And so this was also a great hit, but everything for her in terms of language arts, our reading and writing, and a little bit of grammar, she's doing really well in, and so I'm happy with. For math, I love Singapore math. We're doing primary mathematics for my older daughter, but primary mathematics doesn't have a kindergarten program, or at least, Primary Mathematics 2022, that's a new one that just came out in 2022. That one does have a kindergarten level, but I wasn't familiar with it, and at that time I wasn't ready to just go ahead and purchase it. So for my pre-K, we did pre-K dimensions. And I do love the Singapore method of teaching math, and so this worked for us. It was quick. She got through it quickly. She's already halfway through the kindergarten, the next level up. So by September, she may be going into grade 1. She's very good. She's understanding these concepts well. I found it too basic for her and almost pointless. And so most of the time she'd do 4 or 5 lessons in a day because she just wanted to keep going. It's very colorful and fun. What I didn't like, so these were definitely a hit, although I'm looking forward to starting her on primary mathematics because I really like that curriculum. But when it gets to grade 1, we'll move to primary mathematics. So we're doing dimensions for pre-K and K, which she's on now. She's on the K level. And for grade 1, we're going to move on to primary mathematics. But this one's definitely worked well. She's enjoyed it. It's been a nice, easy transition of getting her from going from purely playing into doing sit-down schoolwork. And so this has worked well. What I didn't like about this curriculum was the teacher's guides. I started out doing it. I started out reading each lesson and but it was just too much. I only have 2 kids. I know some of you homeschoolers have 4, 5, 6 children. But it was just taking way too much time, and she was understanding the concepts. I didn't need to do all the extra activities and the extra, they would get you to go around and find all these extra little, manipulatives and things to help hammer in the concepts that they were trying to teach, but they weren't really necessary because she got the concepts. Like, she knows the difference between shapes and big and small and what's the same and what's different. And then when they got into number sense nearer to the end of the program, she still was understanding that. And so it didn't really require manipulatives and just having to read through. It's really written more, the Dimensions Teacher's Manual is really written more for a group of students, like so maybe a public school teacher or a private school, but a whole class, not just one. So it gives you small group activities, whole group play. It's not really written for your individual student. And so if you are thinking about getting Dimensions, for me at least, if you have a student that doesn't need extra games and activities, I would just not bother buying these. I didn't buy them for next year. It's just, they're huge. They don't fit on my shelf, and I didn't really need them. So for me, the teacher's guides were a miss, and I wouldn't buy these again. I didn't need them for my student. So now moving on to my grade 3 student, we have been doing primary mathematics, the US edition. There's also the standard edition. We've been doing the US edition since grade 1. And I really love this. It works well. She also is very gifted in math. She understands the concepts very easily. She's really had few struggles. Division was a little bit, took maybe an extra week or so to kind of go over it and give her lots of my own personal practice questions. And then fractions was a little trickier for her at the end, but she got that as well. I just gave her tons of practice questions. But this is the second half. So if you're not familiar with Singapore math, they have, where is it here? I can't even see it. Anyway, this is the second half. There's a 3A and this is the 3B that comes with the teacher's guide. I used the teacher's guide a lot at the beginning, and then I found myself, because she was understanding the concepts really well, that we just would go over the textbook. The textbook just has examples of questions, and so you would kind of go, this is the textbook. It would have just sort of sample questions that you would go through, and that would be enough for me to talk. We'd talk through the questions and talk about how to solve them, and that would be enough. I wouldn't need to go through the teacher's guide. Now, as we get into harder and harder concepts in math, we may need them. So I will always buy the teacher's guide for primary mathematics, but it's definitely a hit. She's doing well in it. It works well for her. She's understanding math, the concepts well. I test her in the workbook. At the end of a few lessons, they'll have reviews, and I treat those reviews as a test. I'll even document in our record book that it was a test, and so each review is a test, and that will give her her final grade at the end of the year. So I don't buy a test book, I just use the reviews as tests. And she's doing very well. She's 90% plus, probably when I calculate her final score, she's in the high 90s in math. And so doing well, it's working well. I really can't say enough good things about Singapore math, but I'm really loving it. This is definitely a hit. She wants to move through it even faster. She wants to be ahead. She heard recently in the news of this student that was the first student in Canada to graduate university at the age of 12. She said, "Mom, I want to do that." So I said, "Well, you have to keep moving." So we've decided to become year-round homeschoolers. And this year we're not taking a break in the summer. We are kind of toning down how much curriculum we're doing, but we're going to keep up our language arts and our math throughout the summer. And she would like to do that because she wants to be ahead. She really enjoys being ahead in her schoolwork. And so we are going to keep doing that. But this was a hit. For language arts, we have been doing most of the curriculum by the Well-Trained Mind. And last year, so not this past year, but the year before, we were doing, as part of our language arts, the first language lessons. We did first language lessons level 1 and level 2. And then this past year, we should have been doing level 3. Now that is a lot like the ordinary parents, and I'll show it to you. Maybe I'll pop up a picture here where you can see what it is. It is a scripted lesson where the teacher says something and then it tells you what you expect the student to say, and then it's it's very simple. It takes no more than 10, maybe 15 minutes to get through it. There is some copy work, there is some writing and things like that, but I guess I kind of saw her seeming a bit bored, and so I said, for this year, I hear so many good things about the good and the beautiful. I want to do the good and the beautiful language arts. Everyone is just loving it. It's colorful, it's pretty. It does a variety of different things like geography and art and spelling and language arts and all these things. Let me try that out for my students. So we've been doing it. This is the level 3 book. She was definitely, like, there's beautiful art in it, and you discussed the art. She definitely was loving having work pages and activities that she would do independently, and she did them all, and she really put lots of effort into them and did well. But what I found as we were approaching the end was that she wasn't learning anything. She was doing really well with all of the activities and had no trouble with any of it, but she wasn't retaining anything. But when she did first language lessons, she retained everything. She could give the definition of a noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, conjunction, all of these things verbatim, and had no issues and knew them front to back. And I felt that there was something tangible that she was learning. But through this, and I tried to kind of analyze why that was happening. And what I realized with the good and the beautiful language arts is that they try to cover so much in one book that it's just too washed down and a little too much fluff, and not focusing on so I really wanted a grammar course. It's got a little bit of grammar, but the lessons kind of review it so few and far between that it's not sinking in anymore. It's not you're not recalling it. With first language lessons, you're recalling what you learned and you're repeating. And I guess that was where I was like, okay, this is a little dry, but it worked. And this was just didn't go in depth enough. It tried to cover too much, as you can see here: literature, grammar, I'm not sure, punctuation, art, geography, spelling, vocabulary, writing. It was trying to do too much in one. And an all-in-one approach is just, at this level, maybe for, my pre-K student, all-in-one was okay because it's sort of a brief introduction to a lot of things. But my grade 3 going into grade 4 student is very advanced in her reading, very advanced in her writing, and she's just capable of more. And I noticed that she's lost a lot of what she learned from first language lessons. She's not retaining anything that she learned here. It was really interesting, the different geographies. She learned a lot about Austria and learned about the Netherlands and different places like that. It was interesting to learn those things, but she didn't even retain that because it's just one lesson, never to be repeated again, and a bit pointless, I guess. So I was very disappointed. I was hoping to really love this because it just looked like fun, and she had fun doing all the lessons. But I said, Olivia, you haven't learned anything this year. You haven't retained anything this year, I should say. And so we've decided to go back to first language lessons, but because first language lessons moves very quickly as you approach the 3rd and 4th level, we can't skip the 3rd level. So we have to go back. And she was really disappointed because to her, 3rd level meant grade 3. And she said, I can't do grade 3 and grade 4. I like to be advanced. So to kind of help make up that kind of lost time we both sort of feel, we're going to be doing first language lessons this summer. She's excited about doing it. I got the workbook this year that goes along with first language as well, so she loves that. She likes to be able to fill in the blanks and have pages to do the copy work on and stuff like that, which in the past I always just got loose leaf and put it into a binder, so that makes it more fun for her having a workbook. But she's excited about doing that, and it does focus a lot more. I mean, it's just purely grammar and proper sentence structure and all of that. So that's what first language lessons is. And so it's just a nice big, I'll show you a picture here again, but I will give you a review on that once we get started into it. But it's a nice big thick curriculum that is purely grammar. And yeah, so this was definitely a miss, unfortunately, for us. For writing, I always stuck with Writing with Ease. Now, when Olivia was in grade 1, she did not enjoy handwriting. Her hand got tired. She just did not like to do it. And so I got her to narrate everything to me rather than actually doing writing. But we started level 1 last year instead, which was when she would have been in grade 2. So for grade 3, we did level 3, and we'll be doing level 3 in grade 4. But this is excellent. In fact, recently I had a mom compliment how well Olivia writes. Her and a friend, they've been sending each other emails, writing letters, and she said, wow, Olivia can really write. And she said, what do you use? And so I was going to give her just the curriculum that we use, but this really gives her a lot of practice. If you're not familiar with Writing with Ease, again, it's from the Well-Trained Mind, and they use classical pieces of literature. For example, what is this from? This one is from the Jungle Book, and you read them a passage, and then afterwards, it's scripted again as well, which you can't get easier than that. Asking the student kind of what the primary questions about the passage. So they're supposed to listen and really pay close attention. And that's really helped Olivia focus and listen to every word, because she needs to know the details and be able to answer these questions. And then after they answer the questions, which are kind of guiding them to summarize what the passage was about, you then get them to summarize and tell you in 2 to 3 sentences. Sometimes it'll tell you 3 to 4 sentences, but summarize what the passage was about. And then she will do that on her own. And we kind of go through it together, and we'll say, was that really the main point of the story? And could we write that sentence? It sounds a bit awkward. Maybe that should be 2 sentences instead of 1 long run-on sentence, things like that. And so she has really learned and excelled in her writing. So we will continue on with Writing with Ease. After Writing with Ease, I believe it's called Writing with Skill. So we're really excited to continue on with this. She's been doing really well with her writing. For spelling, simple. In fact, too simple. I think I've been afraid to skip ahead because I don't want her to miss something, but she gets 100% on each spelling test. It's just easy. But level C would have been equal to ABC, so this is level 3. She'll be doing D next year. She's an advanced reader. She reads at about a grade 6 level, reading long chapter books. And so, but I didn't want her to miss out on some of the basic spelling, rules. And so I didn't want to skip through lessons. So we get through it quickly. We get through them quickly. It's not a big book, and it's a simple lesson, and it's just effective. They only use words that are commonly used. I mean, they're not using these long, silly words. I found The Good and the Beautiful does have spelling lessons in there too, and she was doing them, and some of them were words that were just like, these aren't common words for kids to be using. Using everyday words that will help them write better, spell, independently, writing letters and things like that is more effective. So this is a really good one. Spelling workout. It works. It's simple, straightforward. There's no teacher's guide. They just independently do this, and then I test them at the end of each lesson, or her. And that's it. So this was definitely a hit. And The Good and the Beautiful handwriting has always been a hit. She loves this. She hated handwriting when she first started in kindergarten or grade 1, but now she loves it. She does it for fun. She asks if she can just keep working. Sometimes she wants to just do it for fun at night when she has nothing else to do. She'll say, can I work on my handwriting? And so she does it. So she's now this is level 4, and she's now on level 5, and she's in grade 3. So she just keeps plowing through them because she loves them, and her handwriting is really good. She actually has very good cursive writing for grade 3. So this is definitely a hit as well. So now I want to kind of discuss, those were their individual subjects, and now we do some group, or the 2 of them together, subjects. We have been doing Story of the World, which I absolutely love. I don't really want to use any other curriculum until they reach high school. I just love Story of the World. I won't go into a review on it. This is definitely a hit. Now, how we did this year was we did a co-op. We had a group of homeschool families in our area that really wanted to get together to do a co-op. And it was really hard to get everybody to kind of agree to a certain topic. And then none of the moms wanted to be the teacher because they were very inexperienced. And so I eventually kind of stood up and said, okay, I will teach the group. We can choose either, and I gave them 2 choices of things I was interested in, and Story of the World was one of them. And so everybody selected it. Now, because you can't not start with ancient times, because how it works is you cycle through ancient to Middle Ages to pre-modern and then postmodern. So you couldn't start where we were at. We had to go back to the beginning. So we did ancient times over again, which was a really nice review and we enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So this is definitely a hit. Where we should have been this year would be we should have been in early modern times. So now we're gonna go back again next year into the Middle Ages, which we did last year and loved, and then we'll be doing early modern times the year after. So we're not quite in where we should be in our cycle, but we're gonna keep cycling through them. And then when we get to high school, this is good for up to the middle school ages, and then high school, you have to transition into something a bit more in depth. But I won't reveal, but this is the activity guide. Tons of super, super cool, fun activities, recipes, everything. And then this is the read along. And this is always a hit every year, and I will keep doing this every year. This is what we did for science. And I love Apologia. And this one is a super fun curriculum with really fun experiments that you can do with the kids. But unfortunately, this was a miss for us, not because the curriculum is bad, but because we just did not have time to do it. We did it up until Christmas. And then after Christmas, it kind of fell off the wagon because we were so busy with our other homeschooling groups and other outings, and there just was no place to fit this in. So after Christmas, we started doing student-led learning. They would pick a topic that they were interested in doing at the library, finding books, and then they would do research for me. I would get them to write a paper, or Olivia likes making books. So she's made a book about panda bears, and she's right now working on a book about the human brain and how it works and what the functions of the different parts of the brain are. So it's student-led. That's our science for this year. But in our co-op coming September, the moms would like to try science, and so we are going to get through this. The experiments are really fun, and this is the workbook, which kind of is unnecessary, and we probably won't use it. I would just get the textbook really next time, but we will be using this in September, so it should be a hit then, but it was a miss for us because we didn't get through very much of it this year. But I love Apologia, and this particular one was a lot of fun with the experiments. It's called With Chemistry and Physics. This, we started Latin this year. It's part of the classical model of homeschooling, where they suggest starting Latin in about grade 3. And we had fun doing the songs, but again, it just fell off. We didn't continue it. We will push through and start it up again in September, but it was a miss for us only because we just ended up not finding time to do it. They're fun little songs. They were learning Latin. I would get them to say to me, I can't even remember now what they say, but I'm magistra, and they are, I don't even remember now. That's sad. But we will get back into it again and use it. We were doing it sort of at the beginning of our day just to sing a few fun songs at the beginning of our class, and we'll probably do that again in September. But I'm not certain that Latin will be an important part of our homeschool, but I did want to try it because it is something that's part of the classical model of homeschooling. So I was attempting to fit it in there, but Song School Latin is recommended by a lot of homeschoolers. It's a fun way to incorporate it. It's just learning singing songs. And then this book here, that's the teacher's guide. This book here is the student's manual and workbook, and there's some fill in the blanks, work pages and things that you can do. So it was a miss for us because we just couldn't find time to continue doing it, and I wasn't prioritizing it really because our main core subjects really became more important for us this year. And this was another miss that I really wanted. They wanted to do more art in our homeschool, and so I ordered this. This was someone that I had, a homeschooling channel had recommended. It's by Masterbooks, living art lessons. It's basically about the elements of art, you know, color, textures, lines, all these things, and there's different art. It comes with a journal. This is the journal, and then there's different lessons and things that you do and follow along. We started to do it again in September, but again, by the end of the day, when we've done a whole day of school, and you know, we've done our Bible and we've done our math and reading and writing and all those things, and it just becomes after lunch, they just want to go and have their free time, and that just seemed to me more important. We will try to pick this up again. Definitely, I'd like to try another go at this lesson. I wasn't totally, I think in the past what we've done is we've done art studies where we've taken an artist and taken a look at, we learned about the artist, what the time period they came from, their history, when and how they became an artist, their art pieces, their style, and then we would try to do our own version of that art piece, you know, in our own way. And I think they got more out of that, and I just put that together myself, more out of that than they would from this. But we might try this again, maybe have it once a week or something, but this was also a miss. And then a few other things that we've been doing this year is we've been continuing with Rosetta Stone. Both of my kids now have been learning Farsi, and that's going well. I find Rosetta Stone works well, but it doesn't really, it's a functional way of teaching you how to speak. So it's not going through like grammar and sounds and like the way that you might approach how I've learned like French in the public school system, things like that. It approaches it in a functional way, maybe for someone who's planning on becoming immersed in the language if they're moving to another country. So but it is working. They are learning the language and they're having fun with it. It gives them like a different type of way of learning independently. So that is definitely a hit, but I wonder how fluent they'll ever become in the language. If you guys have any tips on learning languages and what works to actually make someone become fluent in a language or help them to become fluent in a language, let me know. Maybe comment below and let me know what works for you. And then we are also doing typingclub.com for typing, which I have the paid membership version, so there's no pop-ups and ads. And that's working really well. Olivia actually is I haven't started Eliana on that, my pre-K, but my grade 3 student has been doing it for the past 2 years. And she's an excellent typer. She types better than me. Well, we're about the same, but she's typing well. She prefers that method now when she does assignments for me. I just let her type it out for me because she does have good handwriting. So I'm allowing her to type for me. And there was one other thing. Oh, and I also started my pre-K on ABC Mouse. It really is giving her good hand-eye coordination. I didn't think of it in that way. I was thinking more in terms of learning, you know, the pre-K things like, you know, grammar and numbers and letters and things like that. But actually, ABC Mouse is really effective in teaching her how to use the computer, how to use the mouse, how to do the hand-eye coordination, and just learning some basic computer skills. So I'm really happy about that as well. I'm sure this has turned out to be a super long video, and I apologize. It's just been so long since I've been able to update you on what we are doing in our homeschool. I am really excited. Our homeschool my kids have really blossomed and are doing so well, and it's so exciting to see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. So I'm just excited for this coming year. But I thank you so much for watching if you've stuck around this far, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.